Here we are, everyone.
Hey.
Back to talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Another week, another episode. I'm joined, as always, not as always, but in the channel, general sense, Brent from Age of Grogu,
Hey,
and
guys.
AJ from the HoloNet Marauders, and hopefully we're trying to get Mike from Jedi Jive on, and we'll see if he gets back there. I see everyone in the chat. What's up? Dimes, Millie. Probably Millie was losing her shit.
Absolutely.
This was Cammy and Fixer and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think we should just get into it because this is, 53-minute episode. I think this might be the longest Star Wars episode yet.
Except for the season premiere of Mando season 2. Season 2.
I think this might be a minute long. I don't know.
Really?
And Bad Batch season 1.
Oh, okay. Well, Bad
Batch
season 1 was like a movie, but I mean, live action TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's a lot to break down here. This is a dense episode, so I think we should just jump right in with just immediate reactions. After last week, Brent, you were, I think, the most gung-ho about this out of all of us. You were feeling it, and it took me a while to get into it. After subsequent rewatches, I think it got me going. I understood. It really felt more like a prologue to a book rather than, and I was like, okay, I get what they're going for.
Yeah.
But after last week, how does this compare?
For me, see, last week, I mean, I actually gave it an 8.5 originally. I've stepped back a little bit and given it dropped down to an 8, only because I had the chance to rewatch last week's. This week's was like completely a 9, and I've got a feeling after seeing it twice, it might jump up to a 9.5 for me. It was that impactful. There was so much, and I love the spiritual stories that have been told in the Star Wars universe, and there was so much of that here that I kind of predicted weeks ago as to where they might be going with the Boba Fett character, because it is a different character than what we saw prior to Return of the Jedi and what we're seeing afterwards. And I think we're seeing this filling in space of why he has become a different person since then, over the 5 years.
I don't know about you, but one of the coolest moments for me was seeing Tem in the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett armor, even if just briefly in the flashback as he walked in. Plastic armor.
Absolutely.
Goat Nation donated $2. Thank you so much for donating until I get moderator. I am not on the Ann account. I am on my personal account. So I swear to you, next time Johnny and Dylan are here, I'll mod you. You paid for that. And once again, guys, you don't have to donate. You are not obligated to donate anything. We really appreciate it, but please do not feel obligated to donate at all. So you're feeling 9, and if you rewatch it, 9.5. I watched the episode again this morning. I watched it last night. I was over the moon. I was like, 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. Same. Yeah.
I think on rewatch, I'm bringing it down to like a 9, 9.2. I think last week I raised up to an 8 from a 7. Now I'm like down from a 10 to a 9, but this is right where I want the show to be going. AJ, what did you think? I think you were pretty positive last week too. So what about
this? I think I gave it an 8 last week. So this would definitely be at least a 9 if we're giving grades right now. I'll give it a 9.3. That puts it in the A range, I think, right?
Definitely A.
In the middle.
Definitely an A.
So I give it an A. Most of it being a flashback once again. And I know there's some people that maybe didn't like the flashbacks last week, but I think it went from present day flashback. I like how it was present and then mostly 45 minutes of I thought that worked very well.
Yes.
And hey, we got Black Chrysanthemum.
Yes.
So finally,
which you guys reported before
Book
of Boba Fett was even announced as a show.
I saw that.
I saw someone linked to the post today in the Reddit leaks discussion. They're like, no, actually, this is the original one, and it goes to your page.
That's cool.
Yes, the HoloNet Marauders, they got it. They're like, oh,
they did too.
It's gonna be Mando season 3, and I think that's. Obviously you can't talk about your sources, but I think there's just one of those funny coincidences where you just happen to be like, yep, someone saw it, and that's there's no denying it. Like, it's not like, oh, we got the inside scoop. It's just it is what it
funny.
is. Like,
at the time, it was like, who are these guys? They have like 20 YouTube subscribers. People were saying that. We're like, we're not a leaks thing. We just figured this would be that fun.
Yeah,
you saw it. You saw
Black Chrysanthemum's the like most fun thing to kind of tease, a comic character, and it was just so crazy to see him, and the reveal of him was just amazing.
I need to follow up on the comics and actually get into that into the Dr. Alpha series, because it's one of those areas that I want to check for them online or something like that and read them for sure now. It's like I'm that hyped about this character. The costume design, I know we're jumping ahead, Levi, sorry, but the costume design was so freaking awesome, though. I mean, and think about it. This is the first Wookiee we've seen since probably Solo that's not Chewbacca. The only other time we saw Wookiees before that was Episode 3, and that was 20 years ago nearly. So we really have not seen any other Wookiees outside of Chewbacca. And it's cool to see Wookiees again.
Black makes Chewbacca look like a chump. I mean, I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
Like and we've
The
seen
armor.
them fight. We've seen them fight in comics.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's just. Sorry, I was distracted because Dylan said there was a 3-person overlay, but it is not there. I was just checking. He said,
Oh really?
Okay. So
Huh.
anyway, yeah, I mean that moment. Might as well skip right to it. It's super cool as a comic fan and super gratifying to see something like that. I mean, this is, I think, the first time a character completely created for a canon comic has made the jump to live action. You know, Saw Gerrera is a little weird because he was, or like that's people.
His animation
he was
before,
animated. He was animated, and then.
But that was in comic book.
Yeah, he was developed for the Underworld show, and then they put him in Clone Wars, and then they like retroactively, and that's a different story. And then people talk about Grievous all the time, and Grievous was originally made for Revenge of the Sith, but then he was technically in Clone Wars and the comics first, and then like people felt Ayla Secura is a good one, Quinlan Voss, like those are all still like weird retroactive, like we took this character and made this is fully Kieran Gillen made this character in Dr. Aphra, or technically it was in the Darth Vader run. Firstly, it's the Darth Vader run, in which Boba and Black Krrsantan are hired together. Boba
there is history.
Yes, there is history there.
Okay,
Boba has to go hunt down Luke and find out, and he finds out. That's how Vader finds out his son is Skywalker. But Boba figures out the name and tells Vader, and then there they are together right there.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
And Black Krrsantan goes to do something very comic booky. He hunts down this person named Dr. Silo, who made Darth Vader's armor. Very different. You know, they separate paths, but they are both presented as these are Jabba's top enforcers, and so it makes sense that when Jabba's cousins come into play, which let's just talk about that.
No,
they would take, or like, can we believe that it was Hutts?
They look
two of them.
They look so good.
Very Clone Wars.
The moment that just hit out, the little gem or the jewel that was on each of their chins. They each had a gem and a jewel, and the male version had a symbol. I've been trying to look around for that symbol. It doesn't exist anywhere. I don't know if that's a name or a house or something like that.
It's very,
as a tattoo. Yeah.
It's very Clone Wars design. Zero the Hutt tattoos.
Yeah, I went through his tattoos this morning. I couldn't find that particular symbol, but I do love the jewel that's in their chin. That's sitting there. That's embedded as part of their decor.
I loved the drum beat that started.
That
was so intimidating. That was
now that is an entrance that Boba Fett needs when he comes into town, doesn't he?
Does.
That's what he's missing.
Those poor Nikto carrying those two Hutts like in the hot sun. Like, and I love. So I mean, that's one of my biggest positives of this episode is the dialogue really dug into the nitty gritty of pre-existing Star Wars lore. Like Boba's talking about Nal Hutta and how they're tied up there, and a super little thing that I caught that I feel like people just insanely deep Star Wars fans is the mayor. So let's dive back again. The episode starts. They're bringing the Nightwind assassin. Right. They do the fake out Rancor bit, which we'll circle back around to.
Yes.
But they bring him to the mayor, and the mayor shoots him, kills the Nightwind assassin because he says they're not allowed to operate outside of Hutt space.
Right.
And the detail that Tatooine isn't technically in Hutt space is like even though Jabba's there, it's such a cool thing. Like I've looked at the map for so long. Yeah. Like the galaxy map, and the Hutt space is there, and then Tatooine is over here. I'm like, why is Jabba hanging out on Tatooine? It's not in Hutt space. And then to have that like line, like they acknowledge the deep, like this is what the map of the galaxy looks like.
Right.
And it's like that's such a deep
that was
cut.
cool.
Like,
it was,
and then to have it like tie in a cool way to that scene.
So what do we know about these guys? I mean, I don't know if there's been anything in canon before about the guards, the foot soldiers as we call them. Very shredded foot soldiers. But
well, okay. So the only research I've seen into this is Nightwind has never been used before, except for once in like the role playing game in the 90s, I believe, and it was used. It was used to reference a band of Corellian pirates who used a white tea called a freighter, and so people were using that as to be like Corellia, white T-100 freighter, Nightwind is
I will have to.
And I was like,
shit, interesting. I'll have to check that out.
But other than that, there's nothing in canon. Nothing in this is very.
So they're creating a new
yes, I think
legend or lore. Yeah. For sure, which is great. Which is also good. This is what I'm loving about the series. They're giving us something familiar and they're giving us something new at the same time. And every single episode, whether it's Mandalorian or whatever, you get this moment of like, oh, this is a cool backstory. We know who that is and what it's all about. But then there's also like, this is the new character. what's their story, what's the entire, everything. It's great. Love it.
Yeah.
I watching. I mean, you could watch all of our reactions. Go check it out now.
Yeah. There you go.
Every moment. It was, even when let's go back here. When in your reaction, Brent, when he gets dropped into the Rancor pit, immediately your brain goes to Moochie. We're gonna see
absolutely, no, totally.
And even though there was the fake out there, which was kind of funny, the fact that you have that theory, we've seen the wreckage. There's the fact that we're connecting it to a show, The Bad Batch, and then we see Camino later on, and it's the way that it's all connected right now is super cool.
Completely. There's two ways this can go, by the way. One, Boba Fett obviously, didn't want to use the Rancor on this manner and decided, to keep him out the pet fields or wherever he might be kept. But two, there just might not be a Rancor anymore because there is nobody else in Jabba's palace except for droids as servants. And that means that you would probably get rid of everybody who was the Rancor keepers and this and that. And with the exception of the Gamorreans that they pulled in, there has not been a single other image in that palace. So I'm going to say that there probably is no Rancor, but part of me wants to go to that piece of artwork that over a year ago was kind of, talked about with Boba riding a Rancor down the street as a piece of art that was done for this series. And I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Presumably it was a real piece of art. But if that's still going to be happening, I love to see the surprise just to pull it out. It might be a red herring that we never saw the Rancor there because there really is a Rancor next door.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be cool.
That's cool. It. Yeah.
I think that might be
so it's going to be one of two ways. It's going to be like, no, there's nothing, or B, they tricked us to thinking there's a Rancor when really we didn't see one, and we're going to get that later on as a big shocker and surprise. Anyway.
Yeah, at this point, AJ, something you said about the split of the episode, I think was my only real negative is I really like the present timeline and I like the past timeline too. But for there to be a 10-minute, 40-minute split, I'm looking for more even or more. Like I want more of the present day because that is what is really compelling me because that's where the most mystery is. Yeah. Like we knew that Boba got inducted into the Tuskens. It was super cool seeing him make his gaffy stick.
That was
people pointed out
spiritual journey.
Amazing, and we can talk about that. But people pointed out in Mando season 2, he has a unique gaffy stick, and it's really cool to see him make that. But we got the story that he was with the Tuskens just from his garb in the tragedy. We saw him. We're like, okay, he was taken in with the Tuskens. So seeing this, it's great. It's good to see. But that present timeline is what's gripping me to be like, I want to see where this goes next week because there is just an infinite number. No one was expecting Hutts. That wasn't anywhere out there. No one was expecting these twin Hutts to show up. Like that is such an out of left field. Where does this go? Who are they hiring? Black Krrsantan is there. Are they going to fight? Like we've seen on the crew merchandise that it's an image of Boba and a Black Wookiee dueling in the street. It's like
I wonder in a scene like that when they go to shoot this sort of stuff, it'd be kind of cool to find out from somebody who was on set. But I mean, do they have all these, bearers holding this giant platform and they've got these, several blobs up there of green screen shapes and they might be saying these are different aliens from a different race and it doesn't even look like a Hutt, only to remove them and put in the Hutts post-production. Yeah. And that's how you keep a secret. You don't, even on set, if you had a giant shape of a green screen styrofoam Hutt, people are going to make it out and rumors going to get out there a lot more. So I think, if they did, then they kept it secret.
Only so many things you could carry in like that, I guess. But I guess it could have been anything. Yeah,
it could have been 20 people sitting up there, as far as the extras were concerned.
Yeah.
But you just don't know. I meant it's exactly.
And Levi, you just mentioned I'm also with you. Where I care more about the present day story, and I don't really know why, but I guess it is because we know where the flashback goes. It goes to him on that ridge 5 years later. Watching Mando go by, and I guess I'm wondering. One of my biggest questions is, what do you think he does for those 5 years? Because how long do we think it's been so far? Maybe a couple months.
I was going to ask that question. I think it feels like a year and a half, to be honest. At this point,
it could be.
It could have been months before trains traveled through the desert again. Yeah. I mean, we only felt like it was just like a few minutes or the next day, but the reality was, if he's been there this long and there hasn't been a single train there since, this is the first train, then it could mean, every 6 months there's a train.
Yeah. It's definitely nebulous in terms of how long time has jumped. However, now, I mean, the ending where he's doing the ritual, he is clearly part of that tribe now. I think it could just be the reality that he lives with them for a number of years. You know,
and now I've got this to bring forward as a possibility for the future. The trains obviously were being controlled by somebody at the time, and let's just say perchance it was Bib Fortuna that was in charge of, the train, that got heisted. What happens if Bib Fortuna decides to send people after and wipe out the clan of the
I think
Sand
I
people?
agree. Something's
I think
gonna
you are
happen there.
on the right track because
No
to
pun
tie it back
intended with
in the
Travis.
end, well, for what? So he had the the lizard spirit quest,
Mm-hmm.
but in that this is years before the present timeline.
Yeah.
Just beautiful imagery of him. He is breaking. He only became a bounty hunter and became what he was because of his father, because of this legacy, because of what he thought was a certain things. And in that tree, and where did he end up? He ended up in the stomach of a sarlacc, and he has to break that chain. He breaks the stick, and now he has this new life. And so, absolutely, something has to take him back out of that to make him want to go get the armor back, to make him want to go kill Bib Fortuna and become a crime lord. Like,
don't get too attached to that child Boba Fett relationship going on there. That kid may be.
I think. I mean, right? Because why else would he so fervently
leave the desert?
Leave the
absolutely.
desert.
Yeah.
That's
where it feels like it's going. And the thing is that it also goes with in indigenous tribes. People, man comes in, wipes out an indigenous tribe, and it happens, unfortunately, it's happened all the time through history. So it seems like they're doing a repeating of history, and we're going to see this particular tribe most probably get wiped out. And it's going to be a sad moment, but it's going to be a powerful journey and spiritual journey because, again, I said this before, Boba Fett is a different person post Return of the Jedi than he is pre-Return of the Jedi.
And they made that expressly clear with that.
Absolutely. For sure. Yeah.
Good.
I was talking with my buddy today, who's a huge Boba Fett fan, has been since, the OG days pretty much. And he wants to see, he's like, I want to see, the classic Boba Fett, ruthless and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't think you're going to see that because I don't think
so either, no.
He changes.
I don't think that ever really existed.
We do see the brutal side of him. I mean, he was this feared bounty hunter, but still.
When George decided to make him a kid in Attack of the Clones and then develop that storyline in Clone Wars, there is no that was George and Dave. That's straight from the source, quote unquote. I think from that moment on, by humanizing Boba Fett, and the show is explicitly showing Camino, Geonosis, those are things that prequels established. I think that mystery of the man with no name kind of badass bounty hunter went away in that moment because he's the clone of this guy and he has to struggle with that.
The same thing happened with Anakin. The moment you saw child Anakin, a lot of people were taken away from that, unfortunately, because Vader's now a child, and it's
And I personally don't think it takes away from this.
Oh no, not at all. Me neither.
No.
But I do think it is a reality that the character only had 5 minutes of screen time in the original trilogy, and then people crafted this idea about what he was, and then George challenged that idea in the 2000s, and then built upon the development of this kid in the Clone Wars who was really conflicted about everything he did. And in those deleted Cad Bane scenes, I always go back to it. He was the good guy. He was defending innocence against Cad Bane.
Yeah, totally.
And that is a good guy thing to do. He definitely
all the way back. He didn't want the other clones to be killed when he was going after Windu. He did not want other people hurt.
He just wanted revenge, and that path led him into the Sarlacc pit. And he, I don't know. So I think that's a really,
I think he should be thought of similar as Din Djarin, pretty much, kind of the same kind of character in a way. So
it's still different than Din. There's two separations there still.
Mike is here. Mike, do you want to hop in?
Hey, Mike.
I asked you, and I don't know if let me check my Discord here. I'm not sure. I saw. I can send you the link if you'd like. But here, let me go because this is a great conversation. Let me go that to catch up. So Millie's saying when she heard about Jabba's cousin, Grabala, which is a great Lego.
Very funny.
Gravala, that Lego Holiday Special, I think, is really underrated. With
classic.
Oh,
Yeah.
if you've got to watch the Freemaker Adventures. I will swear by that series in
it's
2
so funny
seasons.
to me that Brent is like the biggest proponent of the Freemaker Adventures. I know.
It is so good.
fun.
Like, if you break it down individually or out of order, it's a little weird. But if you watch this story in order for 2 seasons, it's so good, and it's the most canon, non-canon Star Wars that's out there.
Yeah,
in the current times.
Right.
And then so I believe Goat Nation asking if Chewie and Han could pop up. I think so. I made that prediction before the series.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely.
Especially with these flashbacks.
Hey, this episode felt very solo at times. We'll get to the train, but we saw the pikes.
We'll get to the train.
So.
Yeah, speaking of which, is what Millie's theorizing about Kira thanks to the pikes. I mean, it's no coincidence that they are taking stuff from Solo.
Yeah,
I also feel like the pikes, though, are kind of spread pretty much throughout the galaxy at this point too. I mean, they're going to be everywhere. They are going to be everywhere, and they're going to be pulling the quiet strings and moving and shipping things around. So,
but at this point in time, let's see. I'm trying to think as I. Sorry, we got another bot in the chat. I got to get out of here.
Jeez,
these bots, man. So this is a super niche detail, but I'd love to talk about it. We saw the Pikes' faces and their whole heads in live action for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research in the Solo art book, and they designed the faces, but they didn't use them in the movie. You only see Quaid Tulsight's mask.
Do we see them in Clone Wars?
You do.
Okay.
We do.
I asked Jamie that, and I wasn't sure. Yeah.
You do see him unmasked in Clone Wars, and putting them side by side, I think it's pretty cool. Like I love seeing adaptations of the animated world into, and then they made the design for Solo. They never used it, and then seeing it finally here, it's just really cool.
On a technical aspect, I can understand why they changed the size of the heads and everything for the live action stuff. They did want to put a makeup on somebody's face, because the reality was the animation stuff, which, by the way, I still favored those style and designs of the Pikes over all of them. Personally, their faces are only this big, so they would have to either make a full animatronic puppet or do CGI. And I don't know I think they want to keep as real and practical with all the human-based life forms as much as possible. Without
even then, though, and here let me share the screen to what I was talking about. So this is them, obviously, in Book of Boba, and you can't really see it in this angle, but they do have these long backs where it's segmented. And here in the second image in the art book for Solo, there's
we can't see an image.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
There we go.
Yep.
So this is what I was first talking about. You see them, and then you see it's a better angle from the side, but they have this longer.
Yeah. Oh no, they got the length. I love in the Clone Wars how they had the mass of the shape.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
That image. But they still have this sort of the length and the segments that are meant to. Look at this. This is super cool. See how it mentions Sasana Spice in this breakdown, and they say Sansana Spice in this episode, Boba Fett. Like that's so the cuts, man. The deep.
A lot of lore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And lots of reference material that they can pull from 40 years of artwork. I mean, take the one Ralph McQuarrie image that you see at the end from his painting with the Sand People when he's forging the Gaffy stick. The metal framework of the design of the structure that's in the dirt, in the sand, is cool. 100% the image from Ralph McQuarrie's art.
It is amazing the way that we are still pulling from
absolutely
concepts.
Completely.
40 years later.
Yes.
Over 40 years, 45, it really just shows. It's crazy to think that this is what Star Wars is now. We're getting more, I think, Star Wars live action content this year than in the rest of Star Wars history combined. I mean, if we keep getting these 45, 50-minute episodes, and we have 12 episodes of Andor, Kenobi, Mandalorian,
just in 1 year, it's going to be
1 year. That is nuts. And that's not even talking about Bad Batch or the potential animated shows, or the rumored Tales of the Jedi. There's so much going on this year, and this is a great way to start this year of Star Wars, because technically, Book of Boba Fett Episode 1, it was, people were divisive about it. That was last year. This year, we got Hutts, we got Black Crescent, we got the train. I don't know. So, how how about that train action sequence? I mean, it was definitely a derivative of, you know, Lawrence of Arabia or James Wolf's kind of thing, but it was still super cool to see.
Out of the most Western things to happen, that is the one thing I didn't see happening, and it should have been one of the things we should have foreseen. But a train.
Were they kind of trying to tease like a crate dragon at first, and then
I heard that too.
It felt like it too. I said the same thing. Yeah. Well, that also could be its, you know, a warning signal too. It could be a, you know, back off. You know, they started to do that. They thought it was a crate dragon, so the first reaction from before they even saw it was like, "Oh, get out of its way! We got to hide." So,
yeah, like I was with you at first. I was like, I don't really know if I like the design. And Clone, you were saying they were posers used to leave their pikes, but when you really look at the design, especially from the side, you really got to look at pause it in the episode when it's from the side. I think it does do a good job of capturing the essence of the pikes, especially when they have the masks on too. Like clearly. That is meant to be what it is. And when I saw them shooting, I just went, pike rocket train in the desert. I was like, what is this? And that droid conductor, like,
oh my god, that was so cool.
That was just awesome. T-Bot from Visions a little bit, I guess. And then he crawled away.
Crawled away. Was that puppetry? Brent, you have a
no, that was all CG. That was all CGI. Correction. The close-ups when he was doing a couple of things.
Some of them.
I think there was close-up physical things, but for the most part, I'm going to assume that was a CGI.
Well, when he crawled and stuff, that was a puppet.
Even in the
jumped out the window, but there was a couple of close-ups. Where
there was a couple of close-ups that was real.
Kinetic feeling of
the long speeder.
I can't wait to see the gallery of this series because there's going to be so much that we need to see.
Jamie and I were talking about how much they must have spent on this episode alone. The huts, the train. What else was there? I feel like there was so much put into this one episode. 53 minutes.
Yeah.
Just the scale alone of Mos Espa, seeing it develop.
So beautiful,
Yeah.
And that one shot going up to Jabba's palace with Fennec at the beginning. I think it's how it opens. Like incredible looking.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think we're going to open with Jabba's palace in every scene. That's my guess. Every episode we're going to open at Jabba's palace as a scene because we still haven't seen the Bomber Monk kind of crawling across. That's going to be like week. That'll be next week.
Hopefully.
So one thing so far that I am feeling, and obviously 5 episodes left. There's plenty of time for this to get there. But I do feel I want more Fennec. I'm wanting Fennec to do more. I'm feeling. Yeah.
Go for it. Sorry, AJ, you were about to say.
No, I agree. I agree with Levi. I don't know if we'll get some with her in the flashback too, because we know Boba will find her eventually.
We know we do. We know that we see them going up to Jabba's palace and getting the Slave One. That was in the first trailer.
So we can see their relationship if they do know each other from the past, which we all assume they do.
Yeah,
and we'll see where that goes.
That's got to be okay.
Well, that's a story by itself, a flashback story. We've got that. We've got how you retrieve.
Well, I don't know. I think that story is called The Bad Batch Season 2.
I sort of agree.
Okay. Yeah, I think the base.
Because we've already seen Fennec, so and they've alluded to Boba,
and they talked about Boba.
Yeah.
So that would be cool if they mentioned something in a flashback. Oh, remember that time on Ord Mantell, and then we see that this spring.
I don't think we even need to see that. I think we're just going to end up by getting whatever the reconnection is in the flashback over that 5 years with Fennec. So at some point, Boba's going to, I don't know going into town picking up supplies. I don't know whatever it's going to be. He's gonna bump into Fennec at some point.
Do you know what though?
And we're going to get that in a massive. I think we're going to get flashbacks relatively large in every episode between now and towards the season finale.
I think so.
Maybe it's Fennec who pulls him out. Because he's wandering the deserts.
Pulls him out.
Well, being in the tribe.
Oh, okay.
He finds Fennec, he saves her, and then Fennec tells him something or like pulls him back in some way.
No, I don't think so.
Could be. Maybe he's like, I saw a Mandalorian.
Yeah,
he thinks that's his armor, but it's really Din. Could be something like that.
Yeah, it could be. I'm kind of going towards the fact that something really brutal has to drive him out. This was the episode that was the biggest spiritual journey for this character probably in his entire life.
Yeah,
and that's why we're talking about it so much, because we're on a conscious or subconscious level. This was a huge journey for Boba Fett that he's never had before in his life. So he's not just going to get up and abandon that new lifestyle, I don't think, unless something dramatic happens to change that.
I think you're probably right. But just on a final note about the whole Fennec thing, it would be really cool though if she says like it's been a long time. It's alluding that they've seen each other.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I hope so too.
I think they really should have some sort of prior connection.
Yeah.
And Goat Nation is talking about it. Is anyone going to acknowledge that Cammy was? Yeah, they were in this episode. So he went to where Luke was trying to get those power converters. Man, he went.
Yeah.
And it's like 1 for 1, shot for shot.
Let's talk about that little scene because that scene alone was fun.
Watching it again this morning, he walks in.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue in the whole scene. He walks in, just beats everybody, and walks right out.
Yep.
Like,
he just wanted the bikes.
Takes a drink and boom. Yeah, it was great.
I thought the cameo of Cammy and Fixer was well done. I mean, we didn't need them to do anything crazy, and it kind of it goes back and shows Luke thought he was never going to get off that rock, as you would say. Yeah. And Cammy and Fixer have not gotten off that. Living the same lifestyle.
Totally. So. Yeah. And that would be Luke if he didn't have that opportunity from Ben Kenobi. So
exactly, yeah.
It's great. There's one thing I'm going to jump forward again here, but going into the creating of the Gathy stick, did you guys kind of pick up before when he went on his little walk in the desert, let's say with that little lizard, that particular scene there, if you think about it, the younglings are sent off to look for a kyber crystal on a very similar matter of the Force that they are out to find and choose. Their kyber crystal will choose them. And this was the same spiritual Force-related story, but not being a Jedi or a Sith or anything like that. This was how the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, on a spiritual connect with the Force. And this was that moment. And I love that stuff, whether it's in the Clone Wars and they do other alien races and their representation of how the Force works, and all that. I want to see more of those stories. I want to see the Force without it being a Jedi or a Sith. And this nailed it for me.
I had that thought when I was watching it today of this is how they're doing the Force without doing the Force.
Absolutely. This is what they need to. Yeah.
It was very Kyber Crystal-esque. I never thought of that. Going to get the branch, bringing it back, building
that's
the weapon.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the Ewoks Adventures did the same thing. Logray is the medicine man. He's got the medicine, and they call it magic. But at the same time, if you've seen the Ewok movie, it was relying on an essence of the Force, and even Dave Filoni has said that. He said that specifically way back in the in Rebels Recon or one of those shows. In an interview, he specifically said that take the fact that is another representation of the Force. Without it being a Jedi or a Sith, and it's like I love that so much. It's anybody's spirituality on any other race around this planet. It is that in the universe of the Star Wars universe. There's a spiritual level that's
the best place to do that is definitely with the Lasat and Rebels. Very very good.
Yes, same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Something
and we all love that episode too.
It's a great episode. Yeah, great music too. Something I think we need to talk about though is. And I didn't know this, but director Steph Green. I didn't know she was directing this. I don't remember that being announced. But her style here, like specifically during the train action sequence, when the female Tusken rams her bike into the
it was so good. I think we all cheered.
Yeah, the way that was shot, the way she jumps off, the way Boba grabs on the camera, pushes in, like.
Oh yeah.
And I believe she directed an episode of Watchmen, the 2019 show. Which I really love, but I had no idea. Like I knew Robert Rodriguez, I knew Dave Filoni, and like Bryce Dallas Howard were directing episodes. I had no idea this was out of nowhere for me. And seeing the name at the end of the credits, I was like,
I thought it was Robert Rodriguez directing every episode, but it's not, and it's great.
He's like a showrunner. Yeah. But just seeing that name, I was like, what a hell of a debut for a directing Star Wars episode like this.
And this
gets some more.
This goes back to my saying, it's like, I feel like if you're going to give a director a feature film in the Star Wars universe, they need to go through the Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau teaching and learning experience on the set of a TV episode first to kind of get the gist of what needs to keep the boundaries in it. And I feel that, as much as fun as JJ and Ryan, whether you like them or not, did do on their movies, I feel like there was still a certain amount of lost connection there to what George Lucas taught Dave Filoni. And that's just my personal opinion, but at the same time...
Especially during that time, 2013 to 2018, the amount of directors involved and they're just throwing people at film, like the Boba Fett film, obviously never made. Kenobi movie never came out. Like, we're gonna in a couple decades, we're gonna get a really good book about this era of Star Wars and what the hell was.
Absolutely, for sure.
I'm very curious, but I think that's a good point. That now that there is this established Disney Plus infrastructure of TV shows, you can.
That's working.
And I think though the great irony of what you're saying though is that Dave Filoni, because there was no infrastructure before, Dave Filoni. Learn some of the stuff he knows now from Rian Johnson on the set of Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
I just think, sure. but that's not
Oh, it's all in connection. It needs to be. It has to be. It's the way.
I'm just saying, you're absolutely right. Now that there's this infrastructure for Dave and John to have these TV, productions. Absolutely bringing in directors.
It will help future directors. So I would love to see any one of these directors. I mean, I'd still have to see Dallas Bryce Howard direct a feature film. I mean,
I want to see her do Solo too.
That'd be cool. I never thought about that.
That'd be great.
That Orlando and have Solo be into whatever the case it may be.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the same time.
Or maybe she directs an episode of this show with Han Solo in it. Maybe she's directing,
Orlando.
Make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be cool.
Yeah. No,
I really thought I'd just shout out the director because it was something.
Oh, she was great. Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a name I don't know, and you did a great job. Just the way the whole
one of my favorite scenes maybe we've seen in Star Wars in a while was Boba training them how to use the speeders. I was laughing and smiling the whole time. It was unbelievable.
That was great.
Like a bantha. Maybe not. I love it. The way he says, maybe not.
Maybe not.
He's like, maybe not.
Oh, when he's training with the gaffy stick with the female tusk, and then she just slaps him in the face, and I'm just like, whoa, you don't just slap Boba Fett in the face here. Come on.
I thought that was a great payoff at the end for it to be revealed that they were training for a ritual to induct him in to the ceremony, that they're not just he's fighting. This was an important part of the culture and getting him ready for this ceremony. And I thought that was a really cool twist on like the Last Samurai kind of they train in the weapons and now he's good at fighting. It was like this is about their culture and getting Boba involved in their culture. And I thought of
course, between you and me and the rest of the world, it's all Maori training and all Maori, dance techniques, which was kind of cool. It was really awesome. That again, that's what made it such a great moment, because you realize there's a whole ton of Taman Morrison in that episode, because it is him who is teaching them how to train, which is the reverse, because the characters are teaching Boba how to train.
When the Tuskens are, he goes, a gift for you, and they start beating on those bikes and throwing the stuff. I think that was my biggest. He goes, no. That was the
You're missing the point.
The Convor call, Corey and Aubrey, they have Rory Ross on. And
yes, I saw it.
Who is an actor in the show? He played one of the Tuskens, and he was talking last night about that specific part and how many times they just did the takes of just beating on those speeders. They were actually there, and they were just beating.
That's funny.
Throwing stuff. I think he's the one who like throws the thing at the end. Very.
Oh, that's good. That's a good insight.
It's a good comedic.
For sure.
In this episode.
Yeah. I mean, just got to think again. It's like how far the Tuskens have come in character and development, even from Mandalorian. It's just a completely whole chain of.
I do like though that they recognize that there are different tribes.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, and some of them are more brutal,
and like that's the ones that probably got Shmi. That. Yeah, they're not saying like, oh no, those guys were good. Like these, it's complicated. Like there's different Tusken tribes. They're not trying to sanction the killing of Anakin's mom.
No,
this is just how it is, man. Like you're fighting to survive, and I like that the
tribes of Tatooine.
Tribes of Tatooine. They put a stamp on that.
It also goes back to the Mandalorians in general, and even though Boba Fett was never really a Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian race were very not tribal, but they were factions.
Yeah,
and we get to see that. And it's such a that's it. Yeah, and it's just a great connection of how they could relate to each other. Why Din Djarin is able to easily connect with his Sand people, for example, and stuff. So, so many good things.
I love the way that, especially Tim does like the half sign language, and he talking like when he's going up to confront the chief for the first time, and he sort of like pushes through. It was good. It was good. It's good. There's nothing much else to say besides it was good.
So good. Yeah. I was going to say the end. that just when he was forging his gaffy stick, and I'm saying this purely from a artistic sense, it was so cool to see that development. That felt like that was over the course of days or even a week or
I know.
two.
Yeah.
I made this comment when I started.
Yeah.
I said, or
Yeah.
I was watching. I was like, no way you could carve that fast.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think this is again. It's a passage of time. I still feel like we're about a year and a half after he's been there. That gives us a year and a half, 3.5 years of more flashbacks, and that's going to be related into Fennec Shan, how he gets back his ship, what happens. There's going to be obviously a big fight at the end. I think as we go further along, the flashbacks will be shorter because of the reversal, where we get to see the present story get longer in storytelling. But the flashbacks need to be there, and the flashbacks need to be there for, say, season 2 if it goes ahead. Because if we don't get a Cad Bane this season, or even if we do, you're going to want to see a flashback on that certain character or those events in the past, and they're not afraid to go back to the child element of Boba Fett.
Clearly not.
And take moments in that point in history and connect it with present day stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of that, AJ, you brought this up earlier. The expense of this episode, they are fully digitally recreating. I mean, somehow Daniel Logan's like the way
I don't
that
know. I have questions about that. How do they do that?
How are they doing that?
Is it old shots they haven't used, or
I think they? Well, I mean, this goes back. Daniel Logan did something on Twitter yesterday. Said no, there was certain angles. The angle of last week's episode over the shoulder of his looking down at the helmet. He said that from his recollection, it was never shot. So that might have been a body double for that particular sequence, just with matting over with his face. And if that's the case, this is going to be how good is the deep fake if that is the case.
Well,
because this is another actor, and Daniel Logan's face has now been put on. I can't tell the difference.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, in this episode, because that kid, we got a full dynamic scene of that kid running. You have Camino. He's watching the Slave One leave. Django leave.
Such a great shot.
That's obviously not Daniel Logan. That's a new thing they filmed.
But absolutely.
When you look in the reflection, that looked like him. A new angle of Daniel Logan's young face, and I was like, how can this?
Again, it goes back to footage. I mean, even back then, the technology existed that they were scanning everybody's faces and bodies for 3-dimensional stuff, for action figures and stuff like that. That was when when it really was starting in the prequels, is when that technology was first being used. So yes, they would have digital scans of all the cast members of that time period.
That's why it's a great thing as an action figure collector. You can't see all my action figures on this side of my room. But
I can see some of them.
That's why you see in those old Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith Lions, why you have like Mina Tills, the Mon Calamari senator action figure, because they had that on set. Like scan it, scan it up, and then they can put it in the visual dictionary, and then they make an action figure of it. And it's fun.
That'll be cool to see in the gallery or whatever it's called at the end of
I hope they I want them to do a gallery for every episode at this point. And we're not getting that, but I would really love to.
I'm not sure they've ever shown the modern. They've shown it in a couple ones. I know in the Rise of Skywalker documentary, you can see them scanning Rey in her dark outfit. And I know Bill Burr has talked about it. He's like, they put me in this thing and they scanned me, and I was like, what's going on?
Absolutely.
And now we're still gonna. So I know they're still doing it, but I don't think we've really fully seen it on set, because I know Jennifer Beals was talking about it. Jennifer Beals was in an interview recently, and she was talking about like, I'm in Star Wars now. Garza Fwip. I can't tell you about her because she does more in the show, but I'm on set. It's crazy. Ming-Na Wen is great, but then she talks about getting scanned, and I was like, Garza Fwip action figure.
I mean, that's not on set. Cool. There's a separate thing in Disney or wherever they do it. Millie brings up a point that I want to recap on as well. There was a piece of music at 36 minutes and 28 seconds, I think, where you... very specific, but you actually do hear this underlining element. It's right when Boba is like allowing the Pikes to live, and he's referring to the Sand People and whatever. It's this moment of hope that he's changed as a changed person, and there are so many bars in that 10 seconds of music that is Omega's theme. It's too and it's not foreshadowing as much as it is connecting. And
Jamie's even noticed. Absolutely. Jamie said this on our show and stuff, where she thinks at the Boba theme in the credits is sort of the same notes as the Omega theme.
See, Millie said,
And
I hadn't heard that. I didn't catch that.
yeah,
And now I'm like, ooh.
You got to do side by side almost.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like it's kind of like how you can kind of hear
Yeah.
Palpatine's theme and Rey's theme, or
That's what I'm saying.
Leia's theme and
Listen to
Ben's
Jyn
theme.
Erso's Hope theme, and I think you'll hear a lot of similarities. And I don't think Jyn Erso is coming into the show.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think it's just good Star Wars music, and I think especially in this case,
totally.
it is connecting because,
Yeah.
and I hope it's intentional, but it's connecting like Boba's involved in the underworld. That's Crimson Dawn. Omega is his sister. Like that's
Alpha,
something they
Omega.
established.
Yeah.
Alpha,
Yeah.
Omega. Like that's still cool. So
Yes.
last full killer here saying Black K coming into the mix, but then saying, will we see Afra?
In this series, I hope so, but do we think we'll see her in this series? Again, I don't know enough about the character, so I don't know.
I don't know if we'll see her in this series. We don't know. We
A
haven't
mentioning
ever...
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that if they have Black Chrysanthemum and Boba have interactions, that she might get mentioned because Black Chrysanthemum worked for Afra for a long time. We don't know if she's alive at this point. We don't know. Her farthest point in time we've seen, her story is still going, is between Empire and Jedi.
Okay.
So she could.
So there's a good chance then.
Well, I think it would be really cool if she got referenced, especially because of her connection with Black Chrysanthemum. Like those two characters are like like this.
Yeah.
It would be cool, but I don't know about this show. I would hope one day we would get just an Afra, maybe a short or some sort of series, because she is such a good. I don't know if you guys have seen the Scorekeeper short film with Bosk.
I haven't.
It's really cool.
Yes, I have. Actually, yes, I have. Yeah,
and
I
like
did.
Dr. Afra is in that.
Yeah,
and I love when short films take in canon, and like I think it's a great test just to show like this character could be so cool in an ensemble show, or she's just such a good character. Go read the Afra comics.
Great character.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll see her in the show. I think the show. This is more about.
Yeah,
Boba.
I don't. It feels like it doesn't need to be there, but in the future. Just another curious thought was the two Hutts. They kind of throw down the gauntlet to Boba Fett. Does this mean?
Say, watch out.
Yeah, that's basically it. Do we think this is where they're going to end up by hiring their own bounty hunters to come in and take out Boba Fett, including Black?
So
Chrysanthemum. Yes.
So next episode, this is the only footage. The only big bits of footage we don't have are Sophie Thatcher's character showing up on the spook bikes. But then also the dinner table of all of the
all the leaders.
All the leaders. Yeah.
So I think Boba's gonna have to try and populate the palace again. He's got to bring back got to bring back Jabba's former captains, which is who those people are. They say that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I don't really have that's got to be next episode, because then we'll be through all of the trailer footage, and then we can go fully into the unknown with the show.
There'll probably be another attack of sorts, because there's that Fennec line that was just the first wave.
Yeah, but I'm saying, Brent, to that point, maybe he gets them all together, and then they send a Bosk or a Cad Bane after him, or a Black Chrysanthemum.
I just want to see all of them. I want to see Cad Bane. I want to see Bosk. I want to see Forlorn, Duckus, all of them. I just want to see them all.
Very, very cool. And so the one thing though, so we've talked a lot about how Boba is changing.
Yeah.
But the way it's set up in these first two episodes, do we think it's setting up a potential shift back to his more brutal days? Do you think he's going to snap as the Crime Lord?
I think we're going to get a different Boba Fett that is still going to want to follow those ways, but he has all the skill sets there to take care of himself and protect himself if he needs to, and he will get that brutal to do it. But
we see it break out in the first episode. We see him do the face smacking down the guy, and it happened in Mandalorian where he goes nuts. Why he went nuts in that moment, I don't know. He just really wanted his armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. Something has driven him away from the more peaceful Tusken lifestyle. But even still, in the present moment, he's going through the healing. He's like, I want to rule with respect, not with fear. Yeah. So he's like an amalgamation between the past Boba we all thought Boba was, and then this new Boba.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, where's that going? I could see him. That could be a powerful moment where even Fennec, who's been the one so far to be like, we got to kill these people, we got to rule with fear, is Boba, stop. I could see that being I could see that being a powerful moment where he is just going too far, and I could see that. I could see that.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say why. It goes back to what Brent was saying earlier. something happened to these Tuskens? Why does he go take out Bib and all this?
Mm-hmm.
What is his motive for ruling? Does he just want to rule, or is there a purpose behind that?
I think it's to basically make sure whatever is possibly going to happen, that whatever happened to him that we will learn, I'm sure, by the end of this season, doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Under his watch.
I could also see, because he declares himself the daimyo of Tatooine, so Tatooine period.
Yeah.
I could also see it being like I'm doing this to protect the remaining Tuskens, or there could be a moment later in the season where he uses the Tusken, Dune desert power kind of deal against whoever's coming in to try and usurp him.
Yeah.
Because he understands the land, he understands the people. So
you know who else is friends with the Tuskens now? Mr. Cobb Vanth.
Mr. Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hang on. No, well, in the present,
in the present
current time.
Present time. They
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I think we got to see Cobb.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. That's another flashback story that hasn't been told yet. I mean, we know at some point Boba does say in Mandalorian, the Cobb Vanth, yeah, exactly. Which means he has come face to face with Cobb Vanth, even if it's just a single flashback. That we want to know what happened during that conversation after he, either before, had the armor or passed up the armor. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of flashbacks to be said and told.
And something else, you're talking about, this savagery of Boba Fett in the Mando episode. It reminded me, one of the, like, quote unquote, this is totally off left field, but plot holes of last week was people were like, oh, why didn't he jetpack away in the center of the shield there?
Yeah.
And someone made the point. This isn't. I didn't have this thought.
Yeah.
But isn't the jetpack controlled via his helmet?
No, remember in season 2? That was Din Djarin who did that.
Boba do isn't it with his jet? And so if he doesn't have his helmet, which has like the control element of it, maybe he couldn't jetpack.
Yeah.
Like that was all part of the plan.
I like
the
that.
coins in the helmet.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it does make sense.
That's a good point.
I'm like, that makes sense. Like he was disabled.
Yeah, because my brain went to Din Djarin doing it, because he did it from when he jettisoned, his rocket up and down.
But Cobb Vanth just goes, he just slots up, and
it's an older model. Yeah. It's an older model, older design, obviously, and everything too.
So I was like, maybe.
Yeah. And the other thing is that I'm starting to look at Bacta healing as being like healing for cancer or something like that, treatment for cancer or something like that. You get weakened by its development until you actually get through it. And last week's episode, Boba Fett was released, and it does, the machine purposely says, interrupted in the middle of healing. So if you keep getting interrupted, you're not going to have the chance to get healing. And remember, Luke Skywalker came out of the Wampa attack. He was in bed and everything. So there is an exhaustion factor that is taken out of you from being in a Bacta tank. And the fact he was taken out and went straight into almost battle, fighting people, of course he's going to be weak. So that's where my brain kind of fills in these pieces that they don't necessarily always have to tell us, but it makes some sort of sense that Bacta healing is a process, and it's like cancer treatment or something like that, where until you're through it, or if you get stopped along the way, you very well could be weakened by the process.
That is a really good observation. Especially
excellent theory.
Luke is in bed. Yeah, Luke is disabled, so to speak. He takes his lightsaber from the medical drawer. He's like, your lightsaber.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
He wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how much my perspective has shifted on this show as a whole in the past week. I was really like mid on the first episode on the first watch, but now, and I've seen a lot of people say this on social media, is that this show, Mando was good to them, but Mando was still going through some of the familiar Star Wars things.
Totally.
And this show is, and now with 2 episodes, in the way it's doing its own thing, it is a character focus. It's not mission of the week. It's not here's a new cameo each week. This is all a really tight narrative with this flashbacks with one character. And people are saying if it keeps going this way, this might be the new favorite thing.
Yeah.
And I might be there's the train.
Somebody
there's the
agrees.
Train. I might be inclined to agree if it continues on this kind of trajectory with him battling the Hutts and these bounty hunters come in. Like,
well, today was like amazing, just truly amazing storytelling.
I know,
So,
and
yeah.
and Robert Rodriguez, if his word holds of and I think now
it
I understand
ramps up and ramps up. That's
and
it.
if I understand what I think in retrospect, understanding his comments of there's like the starting episode, which is the solid starting episode, and then each one just goes and goes and goes. Like, could this be like the best thing ever? Like, I don't know. It's getting me excited, and that is exciting in and of itself.
I think Robert Rodriguez made the mistake of commenting on Twitter before the series started that everything you've seen is in the first 15 minutes and it only ramps up from here.
Yeah.
And because that first episode didn't quite people get in their heads right away, it didn't cover that. It's set up for everything all to come, and it was so needed. You couldn't have done episode 2 without that setup.
And I'm sure too, he wasn't keeping track of all.
Oh no, totally.
You know, when they were in the final list,
and being an excited director, I'm sure he just wants to get out there. But the reality is, people that's the frustrating thing. Certain people will take it to heart, and then they dump on it the moment they don't get exactly what they heard from the director. And you know, Kevin Smith gets the same dumping, for example, and stuff like that. And it's interesting. It's like there are people out there that are willing to wait, like us. We seem very patient to sit down. We might sit back and go, oh, that was better than this or not or whatever. But other people are going to be that negative attitude, and they're the kind of people I don't want to necessarily be related to or connected with, because I'm a patient person. I'm willing to wait the long haul and make my decision at the end, not prior to when a comment is made.
That element of patience is so bizarre to think about in abstract, because in only a couple months, when we're watching Kenobi or in the middle of the Bad Batch season, and we have this whole show in the rearview mirror as a whole complete thing, and that's only in like a month. You know, the show literally ends in a month. In 1 month from now, we will have this entire thing, and we'll be on to the next thing. It's just that is beyond me. No one will be talking about episode 1 was a little bit slow in the flashback.
That's it.
No one's gonna be on that. People are gonna go, Book of Boba Fett was crazy. This new thing, like, it's weird. This is such a good time, and I think that patience element is
completely
will be rewarded.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you can't expect to get everything in episode 1. I understand wanting to like critique it, because, you know, we all have weekly shows where we talk about it. We got to talk about something, but to not have the patience and not think of the long game, it's just kind of silly. So
that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So a couple of last comments in the chat. Last Killer's asking, which of the main bounty hunters you think will side with Boba Fett? I think Bosk. I'd say Bosk.
Bosk for sure. Yeah.
He and Bosk have known each other since Boba was a little boy.
We have seen a lot of Trandoshans, and
there have been a lot of Trandoshans.
Yeah. That's. I think it's hinting up to be along the first to turn up either next week or by episode 4. I'm hoping.
I would hope so. And Last Book Killer is still asking, like, I don't think the Empire or New Republic is going to get involved in this at all.
No.
This seems like it's in the Outer Rim. This will be solely its own thing. You know, Boba. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the other thing about the whole idea with the train in the back desert, obviously it's going from one side of Tatooine to the other to drop off to whoever the supplier was with all the dust, with all the spice and everything. But it means that they still need to operate under the tables now that the New Republic is around, because we know by Mandalorian time period that the New Republic are luring this stuff around the place. They're trying to keep a balance on that. So this whole idea of the underworld sneaking behind everybody's back, taking different routes and that sort of stuff is still completely needed.
What I like to imagine, if I don't take because you're thinking year and a half. For me, I'm thinking couple months. This would be in between Endor and Jakku, so the galaxy is just like in chaos. I love that aspect of it, is that while Boba is on Tatooine, all of these other galactic events are happening, and Tatooine is
absolutely.
It is that dust ball so far removed from everything. It is really that, like, people are always like, why does it look so developed? I mean, this place is out in the middle of nowhere. And there's really cool stuff happening on the galaxy. Like in that first episode, they're probably attacking the Death Star at the same time. The second Death Star.
It's definitely.
It's interesting.
Makes sense.
So thank you guys. I think we've been going for an hour here. And so I think we're gonna start to wrap it up, because this was a really good conversation, and I think it was good. This was a great conversation. It was a great episode. So Brent, where can everyone find you?
They can find on Age of Grogu.
They didn't
both
know
on
already.
Twitter. They didn't know already, yeah. And we'll be doing podcasts every Sunday live stream. So join us at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time.
One of those times.
And AJ, I believe I'm going to be joining you on Saturday to do a recording.
Yeah, we'll be recording our podcast,
Cool.
which will be out
Very cool.
Monday.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Very exciting. We love the HoloNet Marauders podcast. And speaking of which, AJ from the HoloNet Marauders, the blog, the podcast, the Twitter feed,
Blog,
the YouTube.
podcast, Twitter, YouTube. We got it all, sort of. And yeah, you can find us at HoloNet Marauders. I actually did this right for once, pointed in the right direction. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. We have HML tomorrow, HoloNet Marauders Live. We'll be doing basically what we just did here, but our side of it. And
Totally.
yeah, stay tuned for that podcast with Brent on Monday.
Certain point of view.
Yes, exactly.
All
Cool.
right, guys. Well, we will catch you on the next one. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.